Do you guys remember Wipeout, the game show with the big red balls and the hot chocolate river? The one that spawned endless compilation videos across all of early social media? Well, that's what we're talking about today. We even got a real Wipeout contestant to sit down and do some questions with us. So today, sit back as we look back into one of the world's favorite competition shows, Wipeout. Wipeout is a game show where contestants compete in what the world claimed was the world's largest obstacle course for a $50,000 grand prize, which right off the bat is kind of slimy because they're definitely not the longest or largest obstacle course by any means, and just use that as a promo tactic. I couldn't find what the largest obstacle course was in 2008, but I know the Spartan races were going on then, and they are way bigger than this set. The show was invented by Matt Kunitz, who's pretty well known in the world of reality TV, as he was a supervising producer for The Real World and an executive producer on Fear Factor, using those years of classic reality TV experience and mixing it with some early internet millennial style humor and aesthetics. In fact, for the early episodes, they were even reusing Fear Factor gear and equipment. This is Daniel Drew, who was kind enough to not do this interview once, but twice, because I might have messed it up the first time. I even had this funny bit where I had this hot sauce shirt, so please give Daniel some love in the comments because it was really nice of them.
All their gear was used. It was kind of, it was a little bit, it was usable. It was still safety, concerns, but you could tell it was, they didn't really know what they had.
And one of the most prevalent things to me always about this show is how the hosts just absolutely roast the contestants. And I don't even just mean like make fun of here and there. I mean like they straight up bully these people.
Take a look at this. Nick is so tired he actually tries to take a nap. Shh, he's sleeping.
And if you notice how no one ever gets sad or upset by it, it's because they couldn't actually hear it, as the commentary was always added in post. The show premiered June 24th, 2008 on ABC and was distributed by Endemol Shine, who will play an additional role later in the video, so remember them. The show was hosted by John Henson and John Anderson, along with Jill Wagner. The show has a sort of parody sports commentary vibe to it, with John Anderson being the more analytical one and Henson just kind of saying whatever the hell he wants. Which leaves Jill Wagner as the on-the-field reporter, where she hangs with the contestants of the show, typically doing mini interviews with them. Fun fact, John Henson actually wasn't one of the original hosts, and they initially filmed the pilot with New York comedian Elon Gold. While the reasons for the parting still remain unclear today, Gold has come out in interviews stating that he was on a personal religious journey during this point of his life, and it was hard giving attention to so many things at once. And this version of the pilot has still never been found, so there's a little bit of lost media for you there too. The show ran in hour TV blocks, with the episodes themselves usually being around 40 to 45 minutes. And it starts off with 24 contestants, which will be half just by the end of the first round. Yeah, and you guys thought Beast Games was rough. From 12 it goes to 6, 6 to 4, and then 4 to 1. Now, the course itself has changed throughout the years obviously, but let me point out some of the more well-known and loved obstacles. Of course, the big red balls. I mean, I don't gotta say much about those. Another super popular one is the sucker punch wall. I mean, that shit just looks like hell. There's also the sweeper, which is a classic obstacle for these types of shows, but what makes it special in Wipeout is they'll have them do different mini challenges within this challenge every week. Sometimes they're in sacks, sometimes they're playing dodgeball, all while also trying to survive the sweeper. Pretty wild. And even though only 6 move on from this, they go down to the last one, with that person receiving an extra $1,000 to the cash prize if they win. And if you're wondering, contestants did get $100 just for competing.
I think the going rate was about $100 a day then. So that was probably what was offered, and I took it. So somewhere around that. There's you sign away like residuals and stuff like that. It's considered like it was non-equity and stuff. So yeah, you're not really it's different. It's different than a lot of the acting gigs in that way. But I think I got paid $100.
The first 3 sections of the course are filmed in the daytime, with the finale being filmed at night, with them adding pyrotechnics and cool neon lighting. Every finale starts off with the contestants either launching off of something, whether it's the killer surf or a literal human catapult. They start off by being launched into this water, which is only 45 degrees, or so they claim. Another iconic obstacle from the finale has to be the spinner, which is a platform with poles on it that, well, spins at an angle. And if you're like me, you're probably thinking that's all like super soft, padded, cushiony material. maybe even like a wrestling mat material at the very least? Well, you and I would both be dearly mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you see that episode, I don't know. Maybe you could prove me wrong, but I would love to know because memories. I guess but I remember it being very painful. Like I would love to. I haven't really analyzed it to see like, are they as bouncy as the other ones? But the way this guy described it coming off at first, and he was like ready for a ninja warrior. Like they had before, but they came back having a limp, and I don't know if they had like crutches. Like it didn't look good.
Oh, and I haven't mentioned yet, but if you're wondering how they actually compete, it's by time trials. Since there's almost no way you're not going to wipe out on the course. I mean, it's literally the name of the show. They can't judge you just based on not falling. And they can't have everyone go at once, because that would just be absolute chaos for both the viewers and production teams. So they decided to have everyone go one by one and time them. And to my genuine surprise, all of it was a lot more real than I had assumed.
It was very real in terms of they were just making it up kind of as they were going, from my impression. And like people came off the first ones to go and they were coming back, like they were like, this is really hard.
Safe to say, it was a massive hit. Big enough for it to get an awards-themed episode just 7 episodes into the series' existence, and still ended the season with a best-of episode. People could just not get enough of people hitting their face on these balls, and they would launch their second season in February of 2009, just 5 months after the finale of season 1. With the second season starting with a Super Bowl themed episode as it premiered directly after the Super Bowl on ABC, automatically giving it millions of passive viewers who just left the TV station on. Mixed with the people who were already awaiting the show's second season, this thing just had the best ratings you could imagine, raking in tons of money for ABC. The second season was more expanded too, with each episode containing some type of new obstacle, as well as doing even more themed episodes, something the show would take a liking to quite a bit. The first of them being a couples episode, where, as you can imagine, couples competed against each other for the cash prize, as well as an All-Stars themed episode, where the show took fan favorites from the first season and had them compete against each other in a classic game show fashion. The last themed episode wasn't even really themed, except it kinda was. It was an Australian themed episode, except it wasn't a unique episode to US viewers like the past 2 I just mentioned. This was literally just an already taped version of the Australian show, and all they did was have the 2 Johns talk over it like it was a brand new US episode to us. It's not even Joe Wagner doing the field reports because it was filmed in Australia. This is something that Endemol would start to do quite often, and something we'll expand upon a bit more later. Season 3 also had its fair share of new obstacles, like the Smack Wall Sweeper, Organ Grinder, and Bruise Ball. Gotta love the names of these damn things. As well as a plethora of new themed episodes. While they would start to repeat some themes in the season, like the couples and America's Finest, they had some new and fun exciting ones like the family episode, where whole families competed against each other, and the blind date episodes, which was kind of like the couples one, but way more funny, because they would literally just pair 2 random people up together as if they were a couple, which just gave for way better dialogue and reactions. But just as I'm sure you are right now, America was starting to get bored with the same stuff over and over. Yeah, they do new themes and sometimes new obstacles, but like, you get the point. And Wipeout knew they had to come back even harder for season 4. And little did they know that these short little segments they would do over the next 2 seasons would be just as, if not even more popular than the series itself. And that, my friends, is Winter WipeOut.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be giants snowballing with everyone falling, 'cause Wipeout is here. It's the most wonderful time of the year. They'll be dashing and crashing and frozen face bashing while you at home cheer. Yeah! The new Winter WipeOut is here.
Winter WipeOut premieres Thursday, January 6th on ABC.
On January 6, 2011, WipeOut premiered its 4th season to the world, with the first 8 episodes of it being winter themed. In them, we could see snow across the background, icicles, and of course, winter themed obstacles. They even had Joe wear a winter coat or something of that sort and added extra wind effects to interviews to really sell that vibe. However, logically speaking, they're outside in California and probably did not actually film these in January, so I mean, but that's not the only trick here they're pulling this season, because one of the most iconic parts to me was always the hot chocolate and whipped cream stuff they fall into, which is literally just the same mud water and soapy bubbles from the other season, and they just call it hot chocolate and whipped cream, and we believe them. It starts off similar to the regular series with 24 players starting in the first round, while only 12 actually move on. Some iconic winter themed obstacles were the Yule Log Jam, the Gingerbread House, and the Holiday Hymns. Something different in Winter WipeOut though is instead of the sweeper that normally eliminates 6 players from the 12 that are left, this one has the ski lift, which is honestly way harder of an obstacle, because before you just had to jump or possibly jump and dodge. Now you're literally hanging from a rope like a trapeze artist while avoiding the sweeper and random obstacles coming at you, meaning if you have no upper body or core strength, you're fucked. After the 6 move on, another different rule comes into play here, as only 3 move on to the Winter WipeOut zone compared to the 4 from the regular version. And yes, the finale obstacles are also winter themed, with the snowflake being my personal favorite. I also learned from this that Season 4 introduced spring and summer wipeout, and Season 5 was split between winter and summer wipeout, but honestly, spring and summer wipeout is literally just wipeout. Like, the spring version is literally just the normal show with an extra excuse to add more things springy, both literally and figuratively. They even had spring and summer themed intros and stuff, but again, it looks so similar to the original seasons, you could barely even notice a difference, even as you're watching them all back to back like I did for this video. Now, here's where things get real crazy. Because what if I told you Wipeout came out with not just 1 or 2 or even 3, but 8 video games across 7 different systems? That is absolutely insane, and there's just no excuse for it. The first of these games was aptly named Wipeout the Game and was developed by Acronym Games for the Wii and DS, with all of them being published under Activision. And fun fact, it's the only one of these games I could get my hands on, and I did do a playthrough of it, which you can watch right now on Saskia's Extras. Probably. I'm still looking for an editor. Behavior Interactive would be the developers behind pretty much every other console release for the series, which included Wipeout in the Zone, Wipeout 2, Wipeout 3, and Wipeout Crash and Create, with Activision themselves developing and publishing the mobile versions. And honestly, my favorite part going through all these is just looking at all the different art styles, because I mean, well, you'll get it as we go through them. Wipeout in the Zone was released in June of 2011, with Wipeout 2 being released just a couple months later in October 2011. And you can tell these were pushed out because, I mean, look at these things. It is so bad, I cannot. The game added a sort of wraparound camera, which would just auto bounce back to its start position once you moved it. The course was full of 2011 era Roblox textures and also featured this jumping animation. The third game by Behavior Interactive was released on September 25th, 2012, and well, it was actually kind of good. This game and its eventual successor would become known for their iconic intro sequences that are ingrained into many a Gen Z children's heads. This game also let you play Winter WipeOut, which was definitely something that made it seem way cooler. It also permanently added the camera behind the player and used a 3-strike system when playing the courses. So kind of like the real show, if you fail an obstacle 3 times, it forces you to move on to the next one and gives you an extra time penalty. One of my favorite features being that if you fell in the mud, you actually get muddy, and it doesn't go away until you either finish the course or fall in water. It's a pretty nifty little tidbit. Crash and Create, released in 2013, changed things up a bit by adding a course creator, as the name suggests. And not only did they let you make your own course, you could play it with up to 3 other friends at once, even competing against each other, which was pretty cool. Besides that, it was quite literally the same exact game as Wipeout 3, graphics, physics, mechanics and all, with just new and revamped maps. As for the mobile games, they're just both absolute garbage-sized scrolling platforms. The first game assigns you as a random character in the show trying to compete, and while the graphics are pretty bad, I do have to say the physics mechanics in this game are surprisingly well done. I mean, look at these ball bounces. Wild. You could eventually change your character in the game, but they were all pre-made options. The second game is pretty much just a revamped version of the first game, with it instead opting for a more Nintendo Mii style aesthetic. The character selection is the exact same setup, except with it being cartoony, they could add random things like this. And it even had microtransactions. How fun. The point of both games is to compete through a Wipeout course and win. There's little mini challenges in them that give you coins, and those can be used for new levels or characters, and for power-ups and special things you needed cash or these red balls. Now, as we sort of mentioned earlier, Wipeout was published and released through Endemol, which is a subsidiary of Bonjay Entertainment, who are quite literally the world's largest international media producer and distributor. So what does that mean? Well, it means Wipeout had its own version in 38 other countries, And the beauty of this type of show is most of it was just reworked footage of other shows, with the host usually just being replaced for native speakers of whichever country you're talking about. But out of those 38 countries, 27 of them got their own versions with on-the-field hosts, contestants, and everything. Those countries being, are you ready? Arab world, Argentina, Australia, Belarus, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, English and French, Chile, Colombia, Croatia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Iceland, India, Israel, Italy, Kazakhstan, Lithuania, Mexico, Mozambique, the Netherlands, Norway, and the Philippines. And also these 4 I forgot to add in the list for some reason. And if you notice that Japan wasn't on there, that's for a clear reason, as in 2011, Japanese media company Tokyo Broadcasting System would sue Endemol and Wipeout, claiming that the show was just an amalgamation of all their current Japanese game shows. Matt Kunitz would argue this claim, saying that Wipeout is 90% Fear Factor inspired and only 10% Japanese game show inspired, adding in a Los Angeles Times interview that Wipeout was born from a desire to do a funny stunt series. He reportedly wanted to sell the show as Fear Factor meets America's Funniest Home Videos. The suit was ultimately settled in December 2011 through mediation with a federal judge without it ever actually having to go to trial. Which brings us to a funny little tidbit, because while Japan claimed Wipeout ripped them off, China would actually release their own version of the show completely unlicensed. I know, this is some crazy drama happening around here. The Chinese version of the show was called, and I am gonna fuck this up, Nan Shang Nu Shang Zhang Quang Chang, which directly translates to Race Forward Boys and Girls. And in its defense, it's fairly different from the Wipeout we know, although they literally call it a wipeout when someone falls, but that's besides the point. Anyway, in this version, girls and boys are literally segregated the whole competition, with them even having different tracks and one of each winning at the end of the episode. It starts fairly similarly, with the contestants avoiding their 8 obstacles, with the same knockout rule being applied, meaning whoever is the quickest moves on. And while our Wipeout usually has a 3-host setup, the Chinese version has 6 to 7 different hosts for any singular episode. Wild. Oh, and I forgot to mention, if you win, you don't get a cash prize. You get a brand new car that you're allowed to drive for 100,000 kilometers. Seriously. They even made a kids version of the show, which sounds kinda cute until you read that the children participating are 8 to 18 months old. It literally is crazy, man. It's just some straight up backyard shenanigans stuff. Looking back, we really get a unique glimpse into the 2010s. That early professional era of the internet would be entering itself just as the show was starting. And it was so smart for them to do that. I mean, this was a time when shows like Tosh.0, AFV, Ridiculousness were all just starting and super popular, as well as that cringy college humor and office type comedy. The show was kind of just a mix of all that, giving you endless clips of people crashing out and saying some of the most out of pocket stuff. I mean, this stuff was meant to be cut up and shared across the internet to go viral, just like any reality TV show is. But at least we know the contestants on this one were down for the gags and ultimately had good times, and gave us good times. And that's what the entertainment industry should be all about, minus the whole stealing ideas thing.
But yeah, it's just kind of making fun of people all the time. But I don't know, it was a really fun experience for me. Happy to hop on board.
Yeah, no.
Thanks for thinking of me.
Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hey, maybe even share the video with someone you used to watch Wipeout with. Maybe even comment your favorite Wipeout episode memory, or if you learned something new in this video. I always appreciate you guys, and I will see you in another video. Peace.